How do you think you'll live your life? Well, first, you might want to graduate college, then perhaps get a decent job, work for quite a while, and then retire with loads of money and travel the world. This is what many Americans call the American dream, an idea instilled in its namesake country that basically tells its residents, if you work hard enough, you'll get your deserved break. But this definition of the American dream is anything but concrete. Rather, for many individuals, this dream is about something completely different. Just south of the United States lies the island nation of Cuba, a country that has notoriously been governed by a totalitarian government for much of its history. During the heat of the infamous dictatorship of Fidel Castro, Shigella Collins grew up in the midst of this struggling nation. Her life in Cuba was completely different to that in the States.
So my father was, as a young man, was pulled out of school, and he was used by the Cuban regime to spread propaganda. At night, he would sit in his front porch and he would listen to American news, and he could tell that the American news was not what was being reported in Cuba. That Cuba was reporting it completely different, and so he sort of perked up to the problem before all the people did.
Subsequently, for Ms. Collins, the American dream holds a completely different definition.
The way that I perceive the American dream is opportunity. Everybody has opportunity, and some people see it and some people don't. Some people take it, some people don't. Some people work hard at it, some people don't. But at the end of the day, if you're in this country and you say, I wanted to do this and I didn't get to, it's probably your fault.
Opportunity. That's the word. For decades, the American dream was all about living a sustained life. But now, that's almost impossible. College alone has been a big motive for this drastic change in the American dream. What was once a gateway into a stable job is now a place filled with student debt, averaging just short of $30,000 per student. That's over a third of the median household income. Now, the idea of working for a while, then retiring with tons of spare change is no longer the standard of living. It's an exception. So, the American dream is beginning to take a new form, and the idea of equal opportunity is reigning supreme. For many Americans, their definition of the American dream is vastly different from the ideas of materialistic wealth adopted decades prior. Austin Yan, a college student, holds a similar definition of the American dream to Ms. Collins.
Now, it's kind of more like being able to do what you want to do, have the opportunity to be successful doing what you want to do. That's what the American dream is like to me.
Despite the vastly different backgrounds of the two individuals, this idea of the American dream is almost universally accepted and ingrained into the mindsets of the people of this nation. But this idea that anyone can do whatever they want is far from the truth. In fact, in America, it was reported that disabled people were twice as likely to live in poverty, and that their median household income was far short of the national average. In the COVID-19 pandemic, care homes for disabled people were put into isolation or lockdown, creating an increased risk of violence, abuse, neglect, and exploitation towards these disabled people. This then raises the question, how can we promote the American dream when disabled people are literally scapegoated as ungrievable because it is natural for them to die? Well, many people have conjured a solution to this ever-present inequality issue in America. Affirmative action, a policy that gives marginalized groups specialized aid and benefits less fortunate people. Affirmative action allows marginalized groups of people the opportunity to find success, but at times, it may even give these groups of people an unfair advantage over more prominent groups. The most prime example of this is in the race-based affirmative action instilled in many colleges around the country. As a Stanford magazine article writes, because admissions are a zero-sum game, preferences hurt poor whites and even many Asians who meet admission standards in disproportionate numbers. Affirmative action does well to bring parity to minorities and less fortunate people, but it fails to account for the well-being of the general population who don't receive its benefits. In an attempt to bring equality to society, we are inadvertently bringing more inequality to the individuals within it. Therefore, our question still stands. How can we provide equal opportunity for all? Well, the true answer is that we cannot chase this version of the American dream. And so, much like how the old American dream faded into obscurity, so eventually will this one. In its drive to become the greatest country in the world, the American dream is changing from the idea of an individual to the idea of the nation as a whole. Sure, America is doing all it can to mutually benefit society as a whole, but slowly and surely, it's beginning to lose touch with the individuals that call it home.